lunchroom food.
Since the early 1990s, television has embraced shows built around the everyday lives of stand-up comedians. Jerry Seinfeld, Ray Romano, and Tim Allen all achieved success with sitcoms based on their own experiences. In 2005, Chris Rock joined that wave, but in a different way. Rather than starring himself, he chose to tell the story of his teenage years through a narrator's voice and a young actor. Everybody Hates Chris ran for 4 seasons, painting a vivid picture of life in 1980s Brooklyn through the eyes of a boy constantly at odds with his surroundings. While you might think you've seen it all, here are 20 weird facts you didn't know about the movie. Number 20. No laugh track. In the background. Everybody Hates Chris set itself apart from other sitcoms of its time by choosing not to use a laugh track. This decision gave the show a more honest tone. Unlike multi-camera shows such as Friends or The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which often used recorded laughter to guide the audience's reaction, Everybody Hates Chris depended on strong writing and careful performances to carry its humor. The show used a single camera style, and this, combined with Chris Rock's narration, gave it a tone that felt more like a film than a typical television comedy. The storytelling reflected the real feel of Brooklyn in the 1980s. Without background laughter, the humor and the everyday hardships of Chris's life came through clearly. The challenges he faced at school, the pressure at home, and the minor daily troubles were portrayed without extra noise or added reaction. This quiet space allowed viewers to follow the story on their terms. The writers and actors, including Tyler James Williams and Tichina Arnold, carried the weight of the show without relying on excessive sound effects. Number 19. Rochelle's candy obsession in Everybody Hates Chris. In the episode titled Everybody Hates Jail, Rochelle's fondness for chocolate turtles becomes an integral part of the story. When she is told she needs to give up the candy, her response is full of emotion. The way she handles the loss of her favorite treat shows the strong and expressive side of her character. Her frustration builds as the episode progresses, and her reactions become increasingly intense. She begins snapping at her family and speaks often about what she has given up, making her presence in the house feel even louder than usual. Tichina Arnold brings out every part of Rochelle's frustration with exact timing and careful delivery. The chocolate turtles are not just a snack to Rochelle. In a home where money is tight and every purchase must be considered, the candy represents something she keeps for herself. Giving it up feels like letting go of the one thing she has that is truly hers. That loss, though small on the surface, becomes much larger in the way she responds to it. While this part of the episode unfolds, Chris is dealing with his own trouble. His separate misadventure runs alongside Rochelle's struggle, giving the episode 2 different problems that come from the same family life. Rochelle's fight with her sugar craving brings humor to a simple problem without needing to exaggerate the story beyond daily reality. The scene adds to the picture of a mother who holds her household together, even when something as small as candy feels impossible to give up. Number 18. Parody title. The title, Everybody Hates Chris, was created as a play on the name of another sitcom, Everybody Loves Raymond, which aired from 1996 to 2005. Chris Rock and Ali Leroy chose the name. It was intended to reference the earlier show while also establishing a different tone. While Everybody Loves Raymond followed the life of Raymond Barone, a sports writer with a comfortable life and a supportive family, Everybody Hates Chris showed a very different world. The title, Everybody Hates Chris, showed how the character felt about his place in the world. Teachers were unfair, classmates were cruel, strict rules and little comfort characterized his home life. The name itself indicated that his experience was not easy or smooth. That made the show different from the ones that came before it. The story was told with humor, but it came from real memories. By choosing a title that reflected another popular sitcom, Rock and Leroy placed their show in the same format, but with a different view. The show did not offer an escape. It showed a life shaped by hardship, told through jokes and everyday moments. The name helped explain what the show was about before the first scene began. It reminded viewers that this was not the same kind of story. It belonged to someone else. Number 17. Filming at top speed. Everybody Hates Chris was made with a limited budget. Unlike expensive productions such as Game of Thrones, the show did not have the money to spend on elaborate sets or special effects. Chris Rock and Ali Leroy, who created the show, had to plan everything carefully. They ensured that the cast and crew adhered to strict schedules. This helped them stay on budget and meet deadlines. The series was filmed in Los Angeles. To save money, the team often shot several scenes in a single day. Between 2005 and 2009, they completed 88 episodes across 4 seasons. Tyler James Williams, who played the role of Chris, started working on the show when he was 12 years old. Years later, in 2020, he shared his thoughts during the 15th anniversary of the series. In an X thread, he said that shooting so many episodes in a short time made it hard to remember specific moments. He said that in his mind everything felt like one long episode. He could place pieces of it, but not many full details. Showbiz Cheat Sheet reported his comment. Due to its rapid production and low cost, the show initially failed to gain widespread attention. However, after the final episode aired in 2009, the series began to reach more people. Networks such as Nick at Night started airing it again. It also became available on streaming platforms. As more people watched it, the show began to feel like it had lasted longer than 4 seasons. This second wave of attention helped the show remain part of public memory. The careful planning during production contributed to the show's success. But for young actors like Williams, the fast pace left behind more pressure than clear memories. Number 16. Too much attention. The central focus of Everybody Hates Chris was Chris, a teenage boy growing up in the difficult Brooklyn neighborhood of Bedford-Stuyvesant. To find the right person for the role, Chris Rock and Ali Leroy carried out a detailed casting process. They needed someone who could show Chris's humor, honesty, and the emotional weight of his experiences. The actor had to reflect Chris Rock's real-life story while still carrying the pressure of leading a comedy series on television. After seeing many young actors, they found 12-year-old Tyler James Williams, whose experience was limited but promising. Before this, Williams had made small appearances on Sesame Street and in other minor parts. Being chosen for Everybody Hates Chris in 2005 gave him his first significant role. He brought something natural to the screen that connected with viewers. His presence gave the show the emotional balance it needed. As the lead actor, he had to carry scenes that involved both comedy and emotion, and he did that consistently through all 88 episodes from the year 2005 to the year 2009. Still, fame at such a young age came with its share of pressure. In an interview with Yahoo, Williams said that being recognized everywhere, especially seeing his face on large signs around New York, felt overwhelming. He explained that, at 12 years old, it was difficult to walk through a crowd and stay calm with all the attention. He described the feeling as kind of traumatic, because the spotlight was strange and constant. Even with these challenges, Williams managed the role with focus and calm. His time on Everybody Hates Chris helped shape the start of a lasting acting career. Years later, he continued to act in well-received projects, including Abbott Elementary. The decision to cast him gave the show the balance it needed and helped it stay close to what the creators first set out to do. Number 15. Tyler Cruz is still inspired by Julius. One reason Everybody Hates Chris is still remembered is that the cast left a strong impression. One character who stood out was Julius, played by Terry Crews. Before joining the show, Crews had often played supporting roles as the strong and silent type. This time, the role gave him something different. He played a father who was calm, hardworking, and deeply committed to his family. Julius worked long hours in blue-collar jobs and did everything he could to keep the household running. He was not loud or angry, but very clear about what he believed in. What made his character memorable was his strict view on money. Julius was deeply against waste. Whether it was food, water, electricity, or a few cents, anything lost or unused seemed to bother him. This habit of cutting costs became a regular part of the show. It was not just something for the audience to laugh at, it became part of his identity. Years after the show ended, Terry Crews spoke about how the role stayed with him. In an Instagram post shared through Essence, Crews explained that he still keeps a photograph of himself as Julius in his wallet. The image shows Julius with a serious expression. According to Crews, he uses the picture as a reminder. Whenever he feels like spending money on something unnecessary, he looks at that photo. In the caption of the post, he wrote, "I keep this pic of myself in my wallet, so I can see it when I'm about to waste money on things I do not need, LOL." It became a way for him to pause and think before making a purchase. Even after the series ended, the effect of Julius did not fade. The character gave Terry Crews a new kind of role and gave the audience someone they could recognize from everyday life. The memory stayed with the actor, not just on screen, but also in the way he viewed his habits. Number 14. Nailing her first audition. Ever While Everybody Hates Chris featured popular actors such as Tichina Arnold and Terry Crews. Much of the show's tone rested on the younger cast. Tyler James Williams and Imani Hakim were still new to acting when they joined the series. Because they lacked experience, their performances came across as natural. They were not overly trained or theatrical, which helped show the honest and unpolished reality of growing up in Brooklyn during the early 1980s. Imani Hakim played Tanya, the younger sister of Chris. Even though she was small in size, the character of Tanya never faded into the background. She often made herself heard. She tattled on Chris whenever possible, enjoyed getting him in trouble, and made sure her presence was known in every scene. Despite this being her first acting job, Hakim was chosen after her very first audition. There were no previous roles or major projects before this. Still, she handled the part with confidence and never seemed unsure on screen. Tyler James Williams later spoke about Hakim's talent. In a Twitter post shared in 2020 and reported by Entertainment Weekly, he described how rare it was for someone to do so well at their very first try. He wrote that Hakim's ability showed she was meant to do this. Her performance as Tanya did not rely on extra flair or effort. It was balanced. Her teasing and sarcasm felt real, like what one might expect from a younger sister who knew how to push buttons. Away from the camera, Williams and Hakim had a kind relationship, which was different from their characters. The connection between the two actors helped in scenes where their characters were supposed to argue. Williams even followed Hakim's later work and spoke positively about how she continued to grow. The choice to include actors who were still learning gave the show something many others did not have. Their lack of polish helped keep the tone honest, and the character of Tanya, in particular, gave the show moments that were sharp and unforgettable without losing touch with everyday life. Number 13. Tichina Arnold gave the show its theme song. Tichina Arnold played Rochelle, the strong-willed and disciplined mother on Everybody Hates Chris. Her presence in the show was firm and steady, often confronting her son Chris with bold words and an unyielding sense of order. Additionally, she lent her voice. In a conversation with YouTuber Patrick Starr, Arnold revealed that music had always been important to her. It was the first path she pursued before acting became her primary focus. When Everybody Hates Chris was picked up for production, she remembered thinking the show might need a theme song. That thought moved her to act quickly. In her own words, she said, "I was like, wow, the show got picked up. They're gonna need a theme song." Within 7 minutes, she wrote one. Then she brought in her singing group and flew to New York City to record it. Although the producers decided not to open the show with a traditional theme song, they liked the part where the group sang, "Everybody Hates Chris." They changed the melody and adjusted the music in the background. That short line was then used throughout the series. It would play whenever Chris found himself in trouble or things did not go his way. The simple refrain added a layer of humor and rhythm to the show, without needing full lyrics. Arnold's part in shaping the show's sound added a quiet yet lasting detail. Her ability to write and record a tune in such a short time, then step back into her role as Rochelle, showed her range. She brought both strength and creativity to the series, leaving a mark that was not only seen, but also heard. Number 12. Many familiar faces. Viewers familiar with television from the 1970s and 1980s often found something else to enjoy. The show quietly brought back faces that longtime television watchers would recognize. Before she was Rochelle, Tichina Arnold had already gained recognition for her role as Pam on Martin, the show that starred Martin Lawrence. Todd Bridges, who appeared as Willis on Different Strokes, became famous years earlier as Monk. Mr. Omar, the funeral director with wandering hands, was played by Ernest Thomas. He had been Roger or Raj in What's Happening, which aired in 1976, and its later version, What's Happening Now, from 1985. Rochelle's father in the show was played by the actor known as J.J. Evans, who had been part of Good Times starting in 1974. Antonio Fargas, who once played Huggy Bear on Starsky and Hutch beginning in 1975. Number 11. An Overdue Apology. Everybody Hates Chris is a comedy, and because of how the show is built, the way Chris is mocked, bullied, and picked on is shown in a humorous light. The show manages to find humor in the daily events Chris goes through, but when looked at closely, the picture of a young boy trying to get through each school day while being constantly targeted feels heavy. The laughter does not diminish the fact that Chris faces difficult moments through no fault of his own. A significant part of Chris's struggle comes from attending a high school where he is one of the only black students. Most of the other students and teachers are white. Their behavior toward Chris covers a wide range. Some are well-meaning but say and do the wrong things without knowing better. Others are openly unkind. In either case, Chris is pushed aside, laughed at, and bullied nearly every day. The series is based on Chris Rock's memories of his own teenage years. He once shared that one of his former teachers watched the show and only then understood what he had gone through. She sent him a letter. In the letter, she stated that she had not fully understood the extent of his experience. She asked for forgiveness if anything she had done made things worse for him. Rock said that the events in the show closely match what he lived through. He shared that being beaten and called the N-word happened to him almost every single day. Number 10. The End was pre-decided. Although Everybody Hates Chris gained popularity in later years, the show only lasted 4 seasons before it ended. This happened despite many successful sitcoms often running for 10 seasons or more. Some of the reasons for the show's short run were its low ratings in the early days. However, more than that, the people who created the show believed it was never meant to last for a long time. At the beginning of the series, Chris was a boy who had just started high school. Throughout 4 seasons, viewers watched him grow through many significant moments that slowly shaped who he would become. The story was always intended to reveal a part of Chris Rock's life before he became famous. The plan from the start was to end the show once that part of his life was told. Ali Leroy, one of the creators, once said in an interview with National Public Radio that the end point was clear from the beginning. He said, "The day Chris walks into a comedy club, the show is over." That moment marked the beginning of Chris Rock's life as the person people came to know. Everything that came before was what the show intended to show: the choices, the pain, and the moments that led to that final decision. The show concludes with Chris leaving high school behind and stepping into adulthood. That step would take him toward a future in comedy. It was the last part of the story the show had promised to tell. Number 9. The Longest Yard Connection. Before Everybody Hates Chris began, Terry Crews had already become known as an actor who could play tough characters while also showing a sharp sense of humor. In 2005, he took on a supporting role in The Longest Yard, a film about a group of prison football players. It was during this project that he worked alongside Chris Rock. Although Crews played a harsh character in the movie, his real-life nature came through behind the scenes. Between takes, Rock noticed the way Crews carried himself. In an interview with Gentleman's Quarterly, Crews said, "Chris took notice of me on set. He said he noticed that I was a father and that I had my kids on set. He also noticed how I was around other women and other people. That behavior left an impression." Not long after, Rock sent Crews the script for Everybody Hates Chris. Crews read the script and immediately connected with the way it was written. He said that he was the first actor chosen for the show. He was also the only one named after a member of Chris Rock's real family, his father, Julius. Number 8. Wrapping up the show. The show came to an end with the Season 4 episode titled, Everybody Hates the GED. After enduring many painful semesters at his high school, Chris is finally close to graduating, but just as he reaches that point, he learns that he would have to repeat the year. Tired of the constant stress and unable to face another round of the same experience, he decides to drop out and take the General Educational Development Test instead, hoping it will help him find work. The final scene of the series mirrors the last moments of The Sopranos, Chris is sitting with his family as they wait to find out if he passed the test. Just as the result is about to be revealed, the screen cuts to black. This abrupt finish left many viewers feeling unsatisfied. However, the creators believed this was the right place to stop the story. In an interview with Television Guide, shared through canceled television show's headquarters, Terry Crews said that by the time Season 4 arrived, the show had reached the point where it was starting to match Chris Rock's real life. This was the time when he began moving away from the everyday world and stepped into comedy, which was always meant to be the ending point of the show. Chris Rock agreed with Crews. In the same interview, he said that if the show ended with that episode, it would have ended the right way. He added that it might not be a bad way to finish. After the screen goes black, the rest of Chris's story is not shown. But actor Tyler James Williams later wrote on Twitter, quoted by Shadow and Act, that Chris passes the General Educational Development Test and drops out of school. That is when his path toward comedy begins. Number 7. Everybody Hates the Santa Episode. In recent years, Everybody Hates Chris has come to be viewed as one of the few sitcoms without any real critics. Its humor and honest warmth give the show the feeling of comfort, especially for those who want to watch a family that, though often at odds, still protects and cares for each other through everything. There is, however, one episode that caused trouble for the show's reputation. In the 11th episode of the first season titled Everybody Hates Christmas, Drew tells Tanya that there is no Santa Claus. This part of the story upset many parents, which took the cast and crew by surprise. Ali Leroy, who co-created the show, explained in an interview reported by Imagine Games Network that he received a call from the studio press. They told him that complaints were building around the idea that the show had ruined Santa Claus for children. Leroy said he saw the reaction as people trying to create a problem where one did not exist. Tichina Arnold admitted that none of them expected the episode to cause such a strong response. Terry Crews also gave his thoughts, saying he felt people missed the real message of the story. The episode, he explained, was meant to show that it is right not to receive the perfect gift on Christmas. What matters more is the love shared in a family, even when money is tight. Number 6. Difficulties with growing up. On set, at the center of Everybody Hates Chris is the family, comprising Rochelle, Julius, and their 3 children. While adult actors played Rochelle and Julius, the children were portrayed by actors who were not yet teenagers when the show first began. The work experience for the younger cast members differed significantly from that of the adults, and was not always easy to manage. Tyler James Williams has spoken in interviews about how demanding the schedule was. The filming moved quickly and the hours were long. Looking back, Williams has said he does not miss working on the show. In an interview shared by Columbia and Warner Atlanta, he compared it to being in high school. He explained that most people do not want to return to that time in their lives. They might understand its value, but they do not want to relive it. Taquan Richmond had similar thoughts about his time playing Drew. In an interview with Interview magazine, he remembered feeling alone much of the time. He said he had no friends, no social life, often ate lunch alone and felt tired all the time. Imani Hakim, who played Tanya, remembers the experience differently. Speaking with Exo Nicole, she said she felt very fortunate to have started her career on the show. For her, the more difficult time came later, after the series ended, when she had to move past the image of being a child actor. Number 5. The planned reboot. Although the creators of Everybody Hates Chris have often said they felt at peace with ending the show after its 4th season, many fans have never agreed with that decision. As the show's popularity has continued to grow worldwide, people have been asking for it to return in some form. Some have called for a reunion episode. Others have hoped for a continuation of the original story or a complete reboot. The interest has not gone unnoticed. It was announced that Music Television Entertainment Studios is now working on an animated version of Everybody Hates Chris. Chris Rock is returning as an executive producer, joined by Ali Leroy and Sanjay Shah, who worked as producers on South Park. It has not yet been confirmed how many of the original cast members will return to voice their characters in the animated version. Tyler James Williams has stated that there have been numerous times when a reunion episode of Everybody Hates Chris was seriously considered, but the cast members have had trouble matching their schedules. In an interview with Collider, Williams said that around 2019, they came close to making it happen. He said they got close, but people kept getting other jobs, which made it harder to complete the plan. Still, Williams has not given up. He continues to hope that one day the fans will get to see a live-action reunion episode of Everybody Hates Chris. Number 4, Everybody Hates Chris is based on Chris Rock's sitcoms filled the television screens throughout the 2000s. Shows like Modern Family, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and Everybody Hates Chris became part of daily life. Many viewers feel that the sitcoms from that period had a more personal tone than those seen today. Out of all the sitcoms from that time, Everybody Hates Chris stands apart. It feels more direct, not only because many people, especially viewers, see their own lives reflected in it, but also because of who created it. Chris Rock made the series. The lead character is named Chris, and his life mirrors Rock's own childhood. The show follows a teenager who lives in a small apartment with his family in a Brooklyn neighborhood. He does not always feel accepted by his classmates. He is the oldest child in a household where money is tight. These details match parts of Rock's early life. During Rock's teens, Bedford-Stuyvesant was one of the poorest neighborhoods in New York City. Today, it remains among the poorest areas in the city. The people in the show were based on those Rock met while growing up. Their ways of speaking and behaving came from real people in that community. The show reflects the lives of more than one boy. It reflects a place and a time. There is talk of an animated version of the series being made. If it happens, it may show more of Rock's story from a new angle. Number 3. What was real versus what was fake? Despite the inspiration coming from real-life events, not every part of it was taken directly from Chris Rock's real life. Some situations and characters were altered to fit the show's structure. Still, certain parts came from Rock's actual experiences. One of the prominent examples is what happened to him at his mostly white high school. He was bullied, he was beaten, he was called racist names, teachers mistreated him. These parts of the story came from his memories. The family shown in the series was also based on his real family. However, changes were made, but the core remained close. The only character besides Chris to carry a real name from Rock's life was his father, Julius. The rest of the names were changed and the number of siblings was reduced. In real life, Rock has 6 brothers and sisters. In the show, their traits were combined into fewer characters to keep the story focused. The show stayed close to Rock's teenage years. It did not go beyond that part of his life. When the character Chris drops out of school at age 17 in the season 4 finale, that also reflected something from Rock's past. That moment was not added for effect. It happened. The series was about his early life in Brooklyn and what shaped him in those years. Even with that base, there were exaggerations. The show had to strike a balance between humor and the privacy of those it was based on. Rochelle, the mother in the show, shared many traits with Rock's real mother, but Rock once said she was not quite that extreme. Every character in the show was based on a real person, but each one was adjusted to fit the tone of the story. Chris Rock served as the narrator and the producer. He had control over how the story was told. Even with that, not every part was factual. There was space for creativity. The show is like the stories Rock tells in his stand-up routines, parts of real life, shaped into something that could make people laugh, but still drawn from what he lived through. Number 2. Jerome's Daily Dollar. The way Jerome behaves reflects a part of life in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn, during the 1980s. For a young boy like Chris, interacting with people like Jerome was part of his daily routine. These encounters were not always violent or extreme, but they added weight to an already complex world. Jerome's presence was both a source of fear and humor, which matched the show's tone. Cavante Jackson's voice and expression made Jerome stand out. He did not play the role of a simple villain. Instead, he brought a sense of rhythm and charm to the part. This had a lasting effect on Jerome without making him too large a presence in the story. The moments between Chris and Jerome helped illustrate how small daily challenges can feel overwhelming when experienced by a young boy. Number 1. Lucky Socks Superstition. In the Season 4 episode Everyone Hates Superstition, Chris wears a pair of socks once owned by his father when he first met Rochelle, believing they bring him luck. After putting them on, a girl compliments his name, which lifts his mood. This small moment marks the beginning of a series of events that seem to go his way. The socks become a quiet symbol of hope. In the middle of his hard life in the 1980s in Brooklyn, Chris holds on to whatever helps him feel better. The story shows how he finds meaning in everyday things, using humor and care to face each day. The 80s culture that Everybody Hates Chris replicates struck a nostalgic chord with audiences from the start, as did the show's mixture of sharply observed humor and genuinely tender moments between memorably fleshed-out characters. What do you have to say about the weird facts in the sitcom? Let's hear from you in the comments. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and turn on notifications for more movie facts from us.